welcome back everybody to another wonderful episode of Elliot's Overtime Escape with your host, the one and only Elliot Maxwell. Elliot, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Seth. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. It's been a good day. We're finally getting some snow here in Colorado. Soon we'll be able to talk a lot more skiing, so really excited for that. And excited to get into an episode.
So let's get this show on the road.
You!
By getting the first spin of the wheel while I'm doing like this, I'm
multitasking Elliot today.
I'm staring at you while playing the computer.
Yeah, we have a lot going on. Walt's World off the bat.
Walt's
wow.
World.
Okay, we're getting straight into making me sweat early today, for sure.
Yeah. So, for you, Seth, question number 1. Which of these is not one of the 3 films in the Aladdin trilogy?
Okay, I'm going to try to do this process of elimination. I feel like the first one had to just be called Aladdin. I hope. I feel like I've heard of Aladdin's Curse, and I feel like I've heard of Aladdin the King of Thieves, which also might be the first movie. I don't really know for sure. I know it's either going to be between A, Return from Jafar, or D, Aladdin with nothing else. My final guess, though, is A, The Return from Jafar. Oh.
You got that answer wrong. It's Aladdin's Curse.
It's Aladdin's Curse? I swear I've heard of that before. Wow. Okay. What a bummer.
So, next question. What was the name of the toy store in Toy Story 2?
This is one that I actually feel like I should know, and I feel like 2 are sticking out to me. But this one I have no excuse. This is a movie I've seen before. I don't feel like it's Toyland, and I don't feel like it's the Toy Box. However, if I was going to guess one out of those 2, it would be the Toy Box. I think I'm between B and C, Buzz's Toy Emporium, which I feel like I remember hearing, but at the same time it feels like it'd be like a little too on the nose for it to be named after Buzz. But Al's Toy Barn is kind of sounding good to me. I'm going to guess Al's Toy Barn.
You got it right.
Yes.
1 point for you, Seth. So, question number 3. Who was the voice actor for Genie in the 2019 Aladdin?
Oh, is that Will Smith?
You got 2 points.
I don't know why I know that, but I just kind of, that's like one where I can distinctly imagine it.
And then I got the next question. What does Hakuna Matata mean?
That means no worries. That is a song I hear frequently. So that
3 points out of...
I'm crushing today. I've already beat my average.
What is the name of the bear in the Jungle Book?
Oh, that's Baloo.
You got 4 points.
I know that one because if I get a dog, that's in like my top 5 names probably for a dog if I got one. Would be Baloo.
What is the name of the snowman in Frozen?
That's gonna be Olaf.
5 points out of 5. And the last question for for the first segment. What is the name of Mulan's dragon companion?
This is where I can imagine him. I know what he looks like. I feel like I know his personality, but I don't remember his name. Unfortunately, my best guess would be like Dave or something.
Yeah.
It's not
Mushu.
Mushu? Okay. I see it. Well, that makes sense. I'm really proud of myself this week. That's probably my best showing ever in this world.
Best showing ever coming from you.
Best show ever for me. I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, maybe we can start making these questions harder again.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm learning.
So, next segment?
I think so.
Well, I'm
Let's see. What's it gonna be, Elliot?
Division winner picks.
Okay, a new segment. Um, for our viewers at home, we added this one because there's quite a few games that are really important for divisions this week, and we wanted to guess some division winners. Now that we're kind of past the halfway point in the season, and see, you know, who we think is going to win each division. So, Elliot, start us off. What's our first division we're talking about today?
First division? Do we want to start with the AFC?
Let's start AFC. I know AFC. I feel like a little better than NFC, so I think start there.
Do we want to go east to west, or east to start at the top, go all the way to the bottom?
I'm gonna say dealer's choice on that one. Go with your soul.
I just think we should start with the first group of the AFC East.
AFC East. Okay. That's gonna be the Patriots, Bills, Jets, and Dolphins. Correct? Okay. Who do you have winning this division by the end of the year?
By the end of the year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so come, whenever after week 18, who do you think is going to be at the top of that division getting a home wild card game or number 1 seed by?
If I had to pick, it's really hard, but I think like the Patriots are like the best team in the East right now in terms of they are leading the division.
Yeah, I do have to agree with you. I do think that the Patriots are going to win this one. I mean, they're leading the division handily as well. I think it's the biggest division lead, one of the biggest division leads right now. In the NFL, they're doing really well. They're having a great season. I do think that they go away with that division. So.
And then the next division is the AFC North.
Okay, this one is honestly one of the most interesting ones. This is kind of why I created this segment. In this one right now, we should have on the top, it should be Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Browns, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
And that's the current order. But it's a very close division. Elliot, who do you think is going to top this one? It's a really tough one.
It's always tough. I think the Steelers might come back from the and beat the Ravens for the division title.
Yeah, big game happening this week. The Steelers are playing, I believe, in Motown, in Baltimore. I think that overall, it's almost tough. I almost want to say the Bengals are going to win this division. I just think with strength of schedule, all these teams are so mediocre. I think I'm going to say the Ravens are going to win this division.
Yes, yeah, it's different than mine. I vote Steelers for the division title for the North.
Okay, spicing it up.
And now we get to the South.
Oh man, I always forget this division. That's going to be the Jags on top right now, right? Colts, Texans, and Titans. This one's also a pretty tough one. I actually think this could go to any of those 3 top teams as well.
Yeah, because they're all great teams, and it's a tough division to like be in the South.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to win this division come playoffs?
I think the Jags are probably like the best team that are playing right now, regardless of the Colts, because they're in second. But the Colts are great, but like I think the Jags are just going to be the running away with the division title.
Yeah, I think the Jags are my second choice, and the Colts are my third choice. I actually think neither of these 2 teams are going to win it. The Texans are 3-0 or 4-0 off their bye right now, and they have the best defense in the league by like a good amount based on points allowed and yards allowed. I think that Texans defense brings them back to winning this because they also have a bunch of divisional games coming up against a division that I'd say is like relatively weak. And I think if they can beat the Chiefs on Sunday they're playing. I think if they beat the Chiefs, I think they have a very good shot of winning that division outright. So I'm putting it on the Texans, and then I think the Jags and Colts will probably both sneak in on a wild card this year, but very easily either of those could miss out. I think people kind of have the Colts figured out. I think they're not nearly as scary as they were at the beginning of the season. People are making Daniel Jones throw the ball, and he hasn't looked as strong without.
And he's on a torn fibula for
broken leg. Playing on a broken leg is insane. He broke his fibula. I'm assuming it's something like a hairline fracture. There's like no way he's playing on like a full break, but even on a hairline fracture, because I've had one or two of those in my lower legs, they are no fun. So, yeah.
And now, the last of the AFC divisions is the West.
Yeah, this one might be the easiest one to call. I think the Patriots have a bigger lead over the Bills right now than the Broncos over the Chargers, but who do you think is going to win this division?
The Broncos, because the Chiefs their dynasty has ended, because the Chiefs have won every single division title, and the Broncos haven't won a single division title since Super Bowl 50 run.
Yeah. Assuming that the Broncos don't completely fall apart and the Chargers decide to like really start playing well again, I think the Broncos have this division pretty handily, especially just because like I think that the Chargers will keep winning until Justin Herbert literally can't play anymore. I mean, that O-line is just so bad. He's getting demolished back there. He broke his hand in the last game, splinted it, and came back and played more. But I think it's a pretty bad outlook for the Chargers, and I see this one just kind of slipping away from them in classic Chargers fashion.
And then we'll switch it over to the National Football Conference. First up is the NFC East.
NFC East. Oh man, I'm way worse at NFC East for some reason. Okay, that's going to be Philadelphia, then the Cowboys are going to be in second, and then Commanders, then Giants. Is that it? Okay, yeah, because the Giants are so bad. Who do you have winning this one?
It's tough, but I think the Eagles are just like the ultimate winner. It might come down to like the it might come down to the final day of the season for the NFC East.
Yeah, I think it'll still be interesting. If we were talking about this like 2 days prior before this last Thursday night football, I think my answer would have been the Cowboys coming off a win against Philly and Philly coming off a loss against the Bears. I honestly thought Dallas was going to be, like a very strong contender. I just think with their loss to the Lions this week, I think it just puts them a little too far away from winning that division. So I also have the Eagles.
Next up, NFC North.
The NFC North. Kind of a hard one to call. Right now, it's Bears, Packers, Lions, Vikings. Who do you have winning this one?
This one's tough too. It could come down to any day of the rest of the season could change rapidly for the division title winner.
Yeah.
Of the NFC South North.
If we were doing this like 1 week later after this Sunday's matchup against the Bears and Packers, I honestly think it would be pretty obvious based on who wins that game, because I think the Lions are a little far away from winning it at this point. They need a bit of a miracle to come back and win this division, because they need the Packers and the Bears to both drop quite a few games. I don't really see that happening. I'm gonna go with just my gut on this, and maybe just a pick because I like Caleb Williams and I don't like the Packers. I want the Bears to win this division this year. I've always been a Caleb Williams believer, even when he was having a rough start to his career last year. I've always thought he has the potential to be the best quarterback in that draft class, either him or Drake May. And I think he's working his way further into that conversation as the season goes on. I want to see them win that division this year.
Same as me.
All right. Agreeing on the Bears in what's a complicated division.
Now I have the NFC South.
All right, this one's going to be tough for me to predict. Who's on top right now? Are the Panthers
Bucks.
on? Okay, Bucks are still on top of the Panthers. It's Bucks, Panthers,
Falcons, Saints.
Wow, what a stinky division. If you asked me this like almost any other week, I think it would have been Bucks, but they're just so they're very injured and just they're not the same team they were at the beginning of the year.
It's kind of like the 49ers, how they've gotten injury prone.
Yeah, this one's really tough. I don't know. You pick first, and I might pick different from you.
I hope the Falcons win the division, but it could come down to either
Whoa, the Falcons. What's the Falcons' record right now? Aren't they 4-7 or something?
4-8.
I think it's too far out of reach for them for sure. Because, I guess they're only a few games back, but they need a bit of a miracle. They just lost to the Jets. I really don't see it happening. I'm gonna put my money on the Panthers here. As much as that's a weird pick, beating the Rams is an insane achievement. And I guess I've been saying on and off, based on the Panthers' performance. I think they're a sneaky good team, and that defense is playing really feisty, really opportunistic. I'm gonna have the Panthers winning this one, kind of just based on the fact that the Buccaneers are a little injured right now.
And now the NFC West.
NFC West. Ooh, actually, okay, so it's going to be Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals, right?
Yes.
Okay. This one's tough, too. Who do you think is going to win this one?
I think it could be the Seahawks at the end of the day.
Yeah, for the sake of us having different points here, because I think it's really a toss-up, I'm going to stick with the Rams. Yes, they just lost to Carolina, but I think Carolina is better than the credit that they're given. And I think, it was very much a trap game going in with a 11-point spread. I think that was always a trap game, and I think they kind of just fell into it. I think the Rams are going to kind of really sturdy up again. They also beat the Seahawks once already this year. So they already have a game lead against the Seahawks in that way. So I think the Rams hold on to it. And I think the 49ers are just too far away from that division, but I think they could definitely be a pretty scary wild card team.
For the NFC.
Yep.
So next up.
That wheel a little spin, and what's it gonna be?
Upset of the week.
Upset of the week. Let me grab my paper here. Elliot, who do you have as your upset of the week?
I got the Denver Broncos beating the Washington Commanders 27-26.
Okay, I like it. That was a really good game. We'll definitely be getting into that more in the recap. Very good game, very fun to watch. I was up and down off the couch for sure. For upset of the week this week, I went with the Panthers beating the LA Rams. They were coming off a short week, at home at least, but nobody expected them to win. They were 11-point underdogs at home against the Rams, and they picked off Matt Stafford twice and got a fumble recovery off of him, and he hadn't thrown an interception in I think like 28 touchdown passes, which is like a ridiculous stat. That's an insane amount of touchdown passes to throw with no interceptions. So then for them to manage to get two against, like, you know, I'd say the quarterback that's been the best at protecting the ball this league was just huge. Bryce Young played well. And I think that was like really a game that just proved everybody wrong. I'm sure it broke so many people's parlays. I'm sure so many people were really upset that that upset happened because nobody had it on their books.
Now let's spin the wheel again for
Yeah,
topic 4.
Yeah, let's get into another topic. I think it'll be topic 4. Here we go. Looks like we are going to have
Week 14 predictions.
all right, my favorite segment of the week. Last week I got 10 correct. Elliot, you got 9, which puts our score totals at 84 for you, Elliot, and 89 for me. So it's still close at this point in the year. And we have quite a few disagreements this week. There's a lot of room to make up ground here.
Yeah.
And speaking of making up ground, what's our first matchup of the week? This one already happened. It was Thursday night.
Cowboys at Lions.
Yep. And who'd you predict for this one?
Detroit to take home the win, but it was the Cowboys that won it.
No, Detroit won.
Or Detroit won.
Yeah, so, yeah, I took Dallas off that, you know, to me it was kind of a flip of the coin type of game, so I took it so we'd have some more difference. And, yeah, Detroit prospered, and not only did they, you know, win, they looked in control.
Dropped a 44-pointer on them.
They looked in control the whole game. Dallas was fighting from behind the whole game.
The same scoreline that the Broncos beat the Cowboys on.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't look good. Didn't look as good as they should have. CeeDee Lamb went down pretty hard at one point. It'll be interesting to see what comes of that. But, yeah, unfortunately, that means you're going to catch up one on me. And what's our next matchup of the week?
Titans at Browns.
All right, and who'd you pick for this one?
I went Tennessee over Cleveland Browns.
All right, another disagreement already, which is pretty rare. I feel like usually we only have 3 or 4 that we disagree on a week, but we have quite a few this week because I took Cleveland. I think Shedeur Sanders is actually like a pretty good quarterback, and Tennessee is just like, they're so awful. They're such a bad football team. Unless Cleveland is tanking to try to get a better draft pick, I don't see how, you know, how Tennessee comes out on top in this one. Tennessee has just not looked good. Cam Ward has no weapons. Cam Ward has no O-line. The defense really is not good either. So I have Cleveland winning this one.
Seahawks at Falcons is the next one.
Yeah, I think this one we agreed on. Who'd you pick for this one?
I went Seahawks.
Yeah, me as well. I feel like this one's pretty clear cut. I just don't see this going to the Falcons in almost any world. But I guess at the same time, like, when the Falcons have won games, a lot of them have been upsets or like games people didn't expect them to win. So, you know, because I think they got one over the Bills earlier this year. So they're just like one of those teams. But also with Kirk Cousins starting instead of Michael Penix, I don't see them winning this.
Colts at Jags.
Colts at Jags. We actually both agreed on this, and I feel like it's one where we both kind of took a bit of an underdog. We both picked Jacksonville here.
Yeah, we both picked Jacksonville because they just are in the lead in the division.
Yeah, they sure are. And beyond that, I think the Jacoby Myers trade has looked sneaky good. He's really been playing very well there. So I think that's like really what pushes me over the edge on this one. If they didn't have Jacoby Myers, I'd honestly say no, I don't think this is, you know, something they'll win, but I think people kind of have the Colts figured out, and I guess this will be a good tester week of that, because if they come in and blow Jacksonville up, then I think, you know, it'll be like, okay, Indiana's still legit. If they lose to the Jaguars here, you have to have the conversation of, is it possible for the Colts to miss the playoffs this year?
Yeah, and Commanders at Vikings is next.
Yeah, we were looking at this, and actually I did a little switcheroo earlier today. Originally, we both agreed Minnesota. Talk me through your Minnesota pick a little bit here.
I just think Minnesota's gonna outright outscore Jaden Daniels and the Commanders because their defense is gonna defense is shy on the Commanders, and the Vikings probably have a better offense and defense.
Yeah, I actually, you know, I disagreed on this one. I think Jaden Daniels is so good that I think it swings it back to the Commanders' favor for this one. And on top of that, it's a good thing JJ McCarthy is starting again. If JJ McCarthy wasn't starting, it would be Washington literally any day of the week. Max Brosmer is not an NFL quarterback, so that would easily be Washington. But I think the news that Jaden Daniels is going to play came out earlier today. It was a non-throwing arm elbow injury, so he should be prime. I mean, he should be more recovered from his hamstring, more, you know, recovered from some of those other injuries. I think as scary as the Minnesota defense is, the Commanders just put up 26 points, almost 28 points on the Broncos, which is, you know, probably the second, third, fourth best defense in the league right now. I think Washington just kind of overall has this one.
Bengals at Bills.
Bengals at Bills. Who'd you pick for this one?
I went Cincinnati Bengals to win over the Buffalo Bills because I feel like Joe Burrow's back, and I think Buffalo might be out of the playoffs if they lose to the Bengals.
Yeah, there's a world where that happens. I think Buffalo wins this, and I do think they make the playoffs, and I think if the Chiefs miss the playoffs and the Bills make it, I think they could make a Super Bowl run. They've looked spotty at times, but I think, you know, that team is still a really, really good team. It's still hard to write off just because Josh Allen is so good. I do have the Bills winning this one.
Now I got Saints at Bucks.
We both agreed on this one. I think it's pretty clear cut.
It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take home the win.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The Saints just aren't a good football team this year, and I don't see them stealing a win off the Buccaneers.
Steelers at Ravens.
Okay. Now, Elliot, I'll give you a free switch on this if you want a free switch, because during our divisional guesses, you did say you have the Steelers beating Baltimore both this weekend for the division. So if you'd like to change your prediction, feel free. Sticking with Baltimore?
What?
Are you sticking with Baltimore for your prediction this week?
For...
Or do you want to switch to the Steelers winning?
I'll stay with the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
Even though I said in the division standings I wanted the Steelers to win, but Baltimore might be like my second pick of the division.
Okay, so you have Baltimore beating the Steelers in this one, but then still losing the division overall.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Overall to the Steelers.
Sweet. I have Baltimore winning this. If they lose this, I think the Steelers or Bengals win the division. If they win this, I think the division is kind of theirs to lose. So I'm going for a Baltimore win here.
Dolphins at Jets.
Ew. Ugh.
like the worst ever two teams that are probably gonna get their head coaches fired at the end of the season.
Yeah, this game makes me yawn. I don't know. I think McDaniel should get fired, but I don't think he will because they've had flashes of being a really good team down in Miami. I don't think Aaron Glenn gets fired either, actually, because he's in his first year there. I don't think they fire him. I think it would be dumb to fire him after 1 year, especially when he hasn't actually looked that awful.
Even though Justin Fields was probably benched.
Justin Fields was benched, and Tyrod Taylor's looked better. I think actually both of these coaches make it to next year. If I was going to guess one would leave, I'd bet it's McDaniels, but both of these teams are just so boring. I do have Miami winning it, though. Winning this game.
Yeah, same as me. Dolphins all the way. So.
Alright.
And now, Broncos, Raiders is the next one.
Broncos in Las Vegas against the Raiders, right?
Yes.
It's not a home game. I will say the Raiders got really close to beating them a couple weeks ago, and their offense has looked better than it did before. But
we still got the Broncos taking the away win.
Yeah, I still have the Broncos winning this one. I think if they do lose it, it could be like an unraveling point for them. So I think they need to win this to keep their momentum. So I think they win.
Rams Cardinals is the third, fourth to the last.
Rams Cardinals. Why isn't this on our page? I thought I missed one. Well, that makes sense. Okay. Rams Cardinals, and they're in Arizona. Well, at least it's an easy one. The Rams win that all day.
Rams all the way over here too.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I forgot it. It's like not even a real thing you have to pick. The Rams are winning that all day, every day. It's a big bounce back game for them.
Bears Packers.
Yeah, we agreed on this one as well. We both have Chicago winning it, huh? Okay, and Chicago's probably the underdog here. I would guess probably like a 5 or 6 point underdog going into Lambeau. But, you know, I'm putting my money where my mouth is when it comes to Caleb Williams, and I'm picking Chicago this week.
Texans at Chiefs.
Yeah. This is in Arrowhead, which I think makes some difference. But who do we both have winning this one?
Houston Texans.
Of course. That, offense just hasn't looked good for the Chiefs really in a while, and Houston has the best defense in the league. I think if their offense can get literally anything going, I think they win this, but it's hard to write off the Chiefs in this type of game because it feels like those are always the ones that they win, where, you know, they should lose it and it should end their season and then they just, keep clawing back. But I'm going to go with Houston on this one. I think they've looked really, really strong for a while now.
Yeah, so that's the end of that segment.
Is there not one more game? I believe Philadelphia's playing someone.
Philadelphia against the Chargers.
The Chargers, okay. And is that in Philly or in LA? That's in LA, right? On Monday night? Okay. Yeah, we
Both of us picked the Eagles to knock off the Chargers.
Yeah, I do have the Eagles winning this. The Chargers are just so injured. It's kind of sad, to be honest. It's a bummer to see Justin Herbert's career go this way of just constantly being injured because they don't have a good O-line, and that's a big bummer. They've had 3 different running backs get put on IR. It's it's a sad season to be a Chargers fan because it's kind of what could have been. They looked so good through the first 3 weeks, but I think Philadelphia needs to bounce back here, so they will.
Yeah, and now it's time to spin the wheel for another topic.
For the next topic, all right.
Now we got Coach of the Week awards.
Coach of the Week action. I have somebody that I believe I've picked once or twice this season, but I think is doing a really, really fantastic job. I have the head coach of the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson. You knock off the Super Bowl winners from last year, and you look strong. You look like you're in control of the game, and you're away in Philadelphia. Huge, huge win for that team. Huge win for Ben Johnson. I have him as my coach of the week this week.
I got the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, John Harbaugh, for my coach of the week.
Okay, and you have him coming off a loss against the Bengals. Talk me through that pick a little bit.
Sometimes it's tough to like pick a coach of the week because I feel like coach of the week is like hard for me to like pick the ultimate like who deserves it the most out of all the coaches. And sometimes I think the Baltimore Ravens are just playing absolutely well.
Yeah.
And that's why I gave John Harbaugh the Coach of the Week award.
All right, I like that pick.
So do we want to do a spin the wheel for another topic?
I think I'm about ready, as long as you are.
Because I'm in control over here.
Elliot in the driver's seat fully today, doing awesome, rocking it. On to our next segment. I'm gonna try to see what it says through the reflection in your glasses. Let's see if I can get it right. No shot. I cannot read that at all.
Defense of the week.
Defense of the week. All right, who'd you choose for this one?
I got the Baltimore Ravens as my defense of the week.
You know what? I can understand that pick. I think the Ravens offense gave up something like 4 turnovers. So, I mean, very resilient for the Ravens defense to even still be playing. I went with a pick that goes against my favorite team, the poor Minnesota Vikings. But when you pick a guy off 4 times and force 2 fumbles out of him and score 30 fantasy points as a team and shut out the other team, it's hard to not give an award to you. I have the Seattle Seahawks defense. They played insane. They got like an 88-yard pick six, another 3 interceptions, a couple forced fumbles. It was a really sad game to exist during as a Vikings fan. And yeah, shutting somebody out I think is always going to get people, the defense of the week. And that defense also, beyond the Minnesota game has been looking really stout these last few weeks.
Yeah. Now we've got like 4 more topics to get through.
All right. Let's spin and see what's next.
Week 12 and 13 recaps.
12 and 13 recap. All right, I jotted down a couple games that I found interesting from these. The first one, let's really dive into this game fully. The Broncos versus the Commanders. What's your thought on this game?
I just think the Broncos they did their job and they needed this win to keep the streak alive against the Washington Commanders away.
Yeah, they kept the streak alive, which I think is really important. They won it in like the most Broncos fashion.
In overtime.
In overtime, barely, on like a 2-point conversion that Benito knocked down. Amazing play by Benito. It's like one of those things where like I still can't put a lot of stock into the Broncos because of the way they won it. It just feels like that's a game that they should have had in their pocket. And for them to not, kind of be running away with that one, it just keeps me a little bit concerned about that team. I think they're really good. I just haven't seen enough from the offense to like really buy in on the Broncos yet.
We might get J.K. Dobbins back for the playoffs.
That'd be huge. That'd be huge for the team. But the person I want to see more out of on the Broncos right now is Bo Nix. There's been a lot of comparisons, and I was thinking about this the other night. There's been a lot of comparing him to Peyton Manning in 2015, which is like, okay, cool, but Peyton Manning in 2015 was like by no means like a superstar quarterback. Like that was not Peyton Manning's prime season. In being like this is our franchise guy, but then also being like here, look, he's a lot like Peyton Manning the year he ended up retiring, gives me just a little bit concerned long term for the Broncos. I want to see Bo Nix develop more to fully buy into this team.
Yeah, but he's a sophomore quarterback, not just like any other. He's not in the sophomore slump. He's getting into. He's like he's doing whatever he can to like help the team keep the momentum going for like these wins over these teams that we haven't done anything. And this was the second overtime win since the Monday Night Football game in 2015 over the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting game, and it's interesting. Just keep tabs on the Broncos. I really want to see them handily beat the Raiders like everybody else has this year, and then I'll fully be a believer. I'll fully buy in if they can beat the Raiders by 2 touchdowns. I think I'll have a lot more faith in this team.
Than the 10-7 that we saw 2 weeks ago.
Exactly. If they can beat the Raiders away convincingly, I think I'll have a lot more stock in the Broncos as a team.
And especially playing consistent football and playing like what we saw in the Chiefs game when the Broncos beat the Chiefs. Like play at that consistency of level, and hopefully the Raiders will hopefully come away from Las Vegas with a win to make Broncos country proud, and hopefully hopefully see like a 30 points.
Exactly. I'd love to see the offense score more points than they have been. So I think that'll be a really interesting game to watch this upcoming week as well. Follow what happens there. And then the other game I pulled up as notable or interesting is Texans versus the Colts. I considered this for my upset of the week. Maybe it was my upset of the week. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't. I considered this for my upset of the week. But it has huge division implications. Houston is much improved. I don't remember what their exact current record is right now, but they have been playing incredibly well since their bye. The offense still really doesn't look that good, but that defense, holding the Colts to only 16 points is huge. So it's given me a little bit of faith in the Texans, and that type of performance is why I think they can come back and win that division over Indy and Jacksonville. Do you have any games that were of note to you?
I think a interesting one was the Raiders in LA against the Chargers. Was the interesting one for me.
Oh, when did that play? Was that
week 13?
That was week 13? Because the Panthers beat the Rams in week 13.
Yeah, but it was like the it was in the afternoon before the Broncos Commanders. It was the earlier game before the Broncos.
Was it Raiders-Chargers? Raiders-Chargers. Okay, I don't know why I thought it was. You were saying Raiders-Rams. I was like, I don't.
Raiders-Chargers. Raiders at Chargers.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of that game. I know that the Chargers won that one pretty handily, but the Raiders' offense weirdly looked kind of alive. Brock Bowers caught 2 touchdowns. I think honestly, that firing of the offensive coordinator might kind of shift the Raiders. I think they might be like a kind of formidable team again after seeing them play the Chargers.
Yeah, but now we face them again on Sunday afternoon.
And that'll be an interesting game. I'm excited to see what happens there.
3 more topics.
All right, let's get into the
Third to
next.
last.
Third to last topic here. Quick spin of the wheel.
And now it's 10-minute drill.
10-minute drill. Getting into some NFL news. First of all, the Steelers claim Adam Thielen after he is dropped from the Vikings under the request of him and his team, actually. So Adam Thielen went to the Vikings and said, hey, I want to, this is my last season in football. I want to play somewhere where I can get more play time and more reps. So he left the Vikings, and he is now signed with the Steelers. That'll be really interesting to follow.